Did the Sumerians predict the end of the world? People have been predicting the end of the world almost as long as the world has existed. Whether they thought the world would end far in the future or the very next day, there are a plethora of doomsday predictions to be found when studying ancient civilizations. One huge question is whether the Sumerians predicted the end of the world or not. Many of those old prophecies have sparked modern intrigue. People connected the old signs and interpreting possible dates to lead to the present or near future. In today's day and age, we've all lived through the end of the world several times. Some of these world-ending predictions are biblical, foretelling the rapture. Then there are other theories, like the widespread worry that the world would end in 2012 when the Mayan calendar ran out. The turn of the millennium, too, seems to spark some anxiety. One premise that's been hanging around for a while recently gaining traction back in 2017, is that the world would end due to a collision from the planet Nibiru, otherwise known as Planet X. The origins of the lore surrounding Nibiru can be traced all the way back to the ancient Sumerians, one of the first civilizations in the world. But did the Sumerians actually predict the end of the world, or is it the Nibiru prediction just another far-fetched theory? The word of Zechariah Sitchin and ancient astronauts. Much of the interest and speculation surrounding Nibiru can be traced back to Zechariah Sitchin. Sitchin, who passed away in 2010, was a scholar who worked on translating ancient Sumerian and Akkadian texts and tablets, linking his translations to interpretations of the iconography. Sitchin developed a theory concerning how Sumerians thought of the supposed planet Nibiru, the end of the world, and how their gods intertwined with it all. His theories can be found in his best-selling book, The 12th Planet. Since then, people all over the world have picked up his theories and ran with them, expanding and twisting their possible meanings and consequences. Now we'll get to the key aspects of his work and modern thought surrounding Nibiru and the end of the world. Who were the Sumerians? Sumer was one of the first civilizations that we have any knowledge of having existed, dating back to at least 4,500 BC. The Sumerians settled in the northern part of Mesopotamia, and Sumer consisted of several large cities. Though not much archaeological evidence is left, there are tablets and inscriptions that have lent insight into their language, culture, and way of life. Scholars have been able to uncover a rich tapestry of their mythology as stories through translation and interpretation. Nibiru Planet X. So far we've mentioned Nibiru a whole lot, but what is its actual significance? Supposedly Nibiru is an additional planet in our solar system that the Sumerians documented and named. Though Sitchin's research of Nibiru culminates in the 12th planet, we should more or so tend to think about Nibiru as a potential 9th or 10th, if you still count Pluto, as a planet to our solar system. Sitchin uses the iconography of the sun surrounded by numerous planets in order to support his theory that the Sumerians were not only aware of Nibiru, but placed special significance on it. But with science as advanced as it is, how can there be any extra planet in our solar system that we don't know about, especially when the ancient Sumerians did? This can be explained by the proposed orbit of planet Nibiru, also referred to as interchangeably as Planet X. Nibiru's supposed orbit around the Sun is much larger and more elongated than other planets in our solar system. In fact, Sitchin states that one full rotation around the Sun takes approximately 3,600 years. And so we only come into contact with the planet every several millennia. Sitchin ties several biblical and historical events to the presence of Nibiru, even claiming that the Great Flood of the Bible occurred because of the gravitational pull that Nibiru caused. Though the crossing of Nibiru and Earth should be a good deal off base on Sitchin's proposed timelines, followers of the idea claim that the length of the orbit can of course change due to shifting gravitational pulls over the course of the centuries. This would mean that a potential crossing could happen much sooner than we'd otherwise think. More fascinating than the planet itself, however, are its supposed inhabitants, the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki and the evolution of the human race, according to Sumerian legends. Simply speaking, the term Anunnaki refers to the pantheon of gods worshipped by the Sumerians, the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. These gods were descended from An, a god of the sky. More prevalent gods and goddesses that found their way into other cultures, including Marduk and Inanna, who has been frequently conflated with the later Ishtar. All right, so the ancient Sumerians worshipped a bunch of gods like most other societies. So what? How does this ancient Sumerian mythology and religion have anything to do with the planet Nibiru? Well, what if you heard that the Anunnaki were not gods at all, but instead they were aliens from Nibiru or Planet X? Sitchin's theory of the Anunnaki falls right in line with what you'd expect to see on an episode of Ancient Aliens. If we're going to buy Sitchin's theory, the Anunnaki were, or potentially still are, an advanced race native to the planet Nibiru. They came to Earth most likely to mine minerals, particularly gold, and their own planet and atmosphere was lacking this. And now there are theories that, for example, there are many volcanoes that are supposedly heaps of debris from mining, and that there's chemicals in there that are toxic and they overheat once in a while, and that's how the volcanoes erupt. Or other theories that the Grand Canyon is actually a huge mining pit with debris. And other such theories that a lot of our areas have been mined, strip mined, in fact. Now, upon coming to Earth, they say they created and bred humans to serve as their slaves and complete this labor. Sitchin uses this forced hand in evolution to explain away evolutionary gaps and missing links. And also, being more powerful and advanced, the Anunnaki instituted themselves as gods among their human slaves, but in reality they were just strange and advanced beings. This idea falls in line with the now popular premise of ancient astronauts, or the theory that the distant past advanced civilizations came to Earth from foreign planets and posed as gods. This set of theories is often used to explain away surprising advanced ancient technology and constructions. Sitchin conflates this theory of the Anunnaki with the biblical Nephilim, or sons of God, who were said to have interbred with humankind. Good old Sitchin certainly did like to tie in his theology. It's also proposed that members of the Anunnaki disapproved this interbreeding, and as such they did not warn the humans of the negative effects the Earth would face when Nibiru came too close, its gravitational pull thus causing the Great Flood. And the end of the world? So how does this all tie into the end of the world, as what the Sumerians thought, when it would take place? It all depends on Nibiru's rotation and path around the sun. Though the timeline proposed by Sitchin would be off, many have proclaimed in recent years that the coming of Nibiru was imminent. Others say that its orbit has been closed to us for years, but that NASA has covered it up in an effort to maintain calm among us. Most claim that it is the gravitational pull of Nibiru that will put the Earth in trouble, perhaps causing another massive flood. Others seem to imagine a doom more akin to a dinosaur-killing asteroid impact. Whatever the exact effect, the consensus is that the arrival of Nibiru means the end of the world as we know it. Now, what do the Sumerian sources have to say about this? It's incredibly easy to fall down the rabbit hole of doomsday theories about how much of Sitchin's and his supporters' claims are actually based off the original Sumerian texts. The answer is not very much. Sitchin's translation of the Sumerian texts are largely criticized, and his interpretations even more so. For starters, Nibiru is actually more so referred to as a star than an actual planet in Sumerian texts. Furthermore, there are no actual texts or pieces of evidence that support any such ties of the Anunnaki to Nibiru. there really isn't any evidence at all. Just one man's claims and his twisting of text to fit the theory, albeit a very entertaining and intriguing one. This is from Ancient Code, and it's on Humans Are Free by Alexander Light, and it's Creative Commons. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.